Good morning, everybody. My name is Jared O'Leary. I've been drumming since 1998. I still got a lot to work on. Today, I'm going to be working on the tenor drums, which is great because, I march snare, so don't have a lot of experience with playing on the tenors. Now, in these practice streams, I like to share what I'm working on and how I'm working on things. There's over 400 practice streams showing the raw, unedited, here's what I do to try and improve my limb independence, or my technique, or tenor drums, or whatever that I'm working on. Sometimes people come in and ask me questions. Because I've been drumming for almost 30 years, and because I've taught every grade kindergarten through doctoral students, I'll get some questions about how to improve your drumming, or how to improve your teaching, etc. So this playlist has just under 100 videos inside of it that has a bunch of different topics. The very first thing that I talk about is whatever the title is, and if it says "and other drumming tips" or "and other teaching tips," that means there's more, so just check out the timestamps in the description. Good morning, Tyler. It's good to see that YouTube did not block your use of the letter A. I don't know why it sometimes does that. Anyways, I've got over 2,000 free exercises and whatnot that you can use to improve your drumming, in addition to all these hundreds of tips and whatnot. If you see any of them that say members first, that means they're scheduled to release for free. There's over 450 of them that are currently scheduled for release, so that means over the next year and a half or so, there's new content every single day. If you want early access, it's 99 cents. You just click the join button, but I promise it's all coming out for free, so you don't have to pay for it. But thank you for the members who have chosen to sign up for that. I appreciate it. We're going to get motivated here. Because I'm not a tenor drummer, I'm just a tenor drummer in disguise. This is my Halloween costume. I'm going to have Shia LaBeouf here help me out to get motivated to do it. Do it! Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it. Make your dreams come true. Just do it. Some people dream success. Well, you're going to wake up and work hard at it. Nothing is impossible. You should get to the point where anyone else would quit, and you're not going to stop there. No, what are you waiting for? Do it! Just do it! Yes, you can! Just do it! That's right, Snowy, just do it. If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Shia LaBeouf. I'm so motivated now to practice. So, if I get 7 more people to sign up for membership, I get on YouTube, I get another emote that can be used in the chat. And the next one that I'm going to add is the just do it. So stay tuned for that. So the more you get, the more members you have, then the more emotes you get. I think you can get up to 60 emotes or something wild like that, but I definitely don't have a billion people signed up for that. Anyways, we're going to warm up. So I've got literally thousands of exercises, and it's a little hard to sort through it all on YouTube. So at jaredoleary.com/drum, this is where you're at. Ooh, Tyler's using one of the emotes in the chat. There's 62 chop exercises here. There's over 1,000 grid variations, 419 for triplet, 577 for 16th note. And if you're quick at math, you'll see that this is where it tops over 1,000 with 36 wacky grid variations. We've got a bunch of limb independent stuff to help you out with some straight charts, some swung charts, and I think over 150 permutation exercises and whatnot to be able to work on this. We've got just under 500 marching bass drum exercises. Guess what time it is? It is time for a virtual high five. There you go. Boop. Enjoy. Free of charge. We've got some drumline cadences. We've got just under 400 technique exercises. And then we've got hundreds of drumming tips, hundreds of live streams, and then some scripted lessons and whatnot on very specific things like how to hold traditional grip, or how to hold a drumstick, or how to practice quietly, etc., etc. So you can check those out if you're interested in it. Now, I'm going to warm up. What do I want to actually warm up with? So I know what I want to do for the tenor work, but I don't know what I want to do to get my hands going. Let's actually do a quick warm-up. So we're going to warm up with just stock shopping spree. And, woo, we got to adjust the resolution. There we go. In every one of these timestamps, it says, or every one of these videos, it says right here, it goes from 40 to 200. That's because the timestamps start at 40 and go one click at a time all the way up to 200. Since I'm warming up, we'll just go ahead and start at a nice, like, leisurely 140, and we'll play through this a few reps, stretch and massage, and then we're going to work on Fulcrum Control on the Tenor drums. That's how you pronounce it, right? So we'll play this a few times, just getting the blood going. Hey, glad to hear that you had fun in Florida, Stanley. It's good to hear. Welcome home. Can I show you triplets and triplets? That's 3 strokes as triplets. I'm good sometimes. Always more to work on. I left out a flam drag. Oh no. Tyler, what time is it though? Did I get it right? Last time. That's funny. Appropriate that it has drumsticks. So Kai, triplets within triplets. It's just a 9-lit. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 as a triplet. So if you're playing triplet, 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 and so you speed this up. Losing my stick. It's like slowly sliding out of my hands. That's all it is. I mean, you can alternate it. You can do whatever you want, but that's how you do that. Anyways, let's stretch and massage now. Woo! All right, so first thing I'm going to do is hold my sticks, palms facing up. Pull it in, push through. Yeah. This stretches the sides of the forearms. Under the drumming lessons playlist, there's a video that's called This Hand Routine Saved My Drumming, and it gives you better camera angles and some extra stretches, like for traditional grip. I don't play that anymore, especially not on tenors, so I'm not going to do that one. Now I'm going to stretch the underside of the forearm. You could do it like this. You could do it 2 fingers at a time, and then 2 fingers at a time. You could do it on the wall. The lower you go, the deeper the stretch. Or you could do it on your pad, or a large mammal. Whatever you want. It's a good stretch. Don't put all your weight into it, though. You don't want to rip your arms off. This is not Mortal Kombat. Okay, now we're going to stretch the top side of the forearm. So you could do it like this. You could do 2 fingers. You could do 2 fingers. You could do on the wall, but this one, for the higher you go, then the deeper stretch. That was good English. Yeah, good job, Jared. Thanks. Woo! Doing great so far. You could even do this one on your legs like this, or on your pad. Hold it there for a little bit. Get the stretch. Can you hear my thoughts? That's right. I was thinking it's time to stretch the fingers. All right, so now we're going to do thumb to thumb. Feels good. Start with the different forearm stretches, then move towards the smaller part of your hand. So like the fingers. Ooh wee. Why, hello. 12 ounces. That's a funny name. Oh, a little ASMR experience. Enjoy. Free of charge. So doing the finger on the same finger just makes it stretch twice as fast. This is the last stretch that we'll do, and then I'm going to do a quick massage routine, and then we are going to work on crossovers on the tenor drums. Okay, so thumb on top, fingers underneath. I just like to imagine when I intentionally mispronounce words like that somebody's just like swiping through and just stumbles upon the stream like, this guy is a moron. No idea how to pronounce the tenors. That's right. How'd you know? And switch to the other forearm. So the thumb is massaging the top side, and then the fingers massage the back. Then you can switch over and do something like this. It's kind of like kneading dough. Whatever you want to do. Relax all up and down the forearm. Top side, bottom side, side. Now we're going to do the hand. So thumb is massaging the palm. Fingers are massaging the back side of the hand. Get in. Relaxed. Interesting. It's a little tight over here. Huh. Also, my middle finger on my right hand is a little tight. Too much scrolling with the scroll wheel, I guess. Actually, yesterday I didn't really scroll much. I just sat and scripted for several hours. Apparently, I was pressing too much of the letter I on the keyboard. Wow. Pretty sure you do that with middle finger. I don't know. I did not teach typing. I taught computer science. All right. Base the tip of each one of the fingers, just massaging a couple times. The computer science classes that I taught were like, they initially had typing stuff, and I was like, yeah, no, we're good. We don't need to spend half the class just typing out stuff. It's important to learn how to type, sure, but this is a computer science class, not a typing class. Every single class had laptops for students, so you can teach it in your homeroom, elementary teacher. We're going to learn how to code. Thanks. It's like when I used to teach general music at the elementary level. There was like math teachers who were like, can you like teach my kids math with music? No. Thanks so. Good question. Request denied. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Okay, so that was stock shopping spree. We just used that to warm up. If you go to my home tab of YouTube, this is where you can find the thousands of exercises for free. The one that I was just playing is under the chop section. But we're going to scroll down. Close that. So we're going past the grid stuff, past the limb independence, the marching bass, the drumline cadences, and we're in the technique section. So if you click and expand, it shows you all the different playlists that are inside of here. Now, the one that I'm going to use for today is the Fulcrum Control playlist, but there are many more playlists in here that can help you with your technique. So this one has a variety of exercises that can help you work on like your tap spacing, your fulcrum, etc. So the one that I'm going to use today is this one. Okay, so this is just Fulcrum Control Variation 1, and let me actually switch to the tenor sticks. I should just do a stream where I try and mispronounce everything. Everything I say. Sweet. Perfect. Okay, so these sticks are much lighter because they're not the hammers, which are like extra heavy. They've got a larger bead on them, and then they're shorter, so it makes it a little bit easier to do some crossovers and whatnot. So the way I'm going to work on this is, while playing through this, I'm going to play it as like double stops and like work on doing from accents on one drum, taps on a different drum. So for example, the very first phrase here, So we have first line. Okay, so that we're going ba da da 1 3 3 1 3 3 1 3 3 1 3 3 1 3 3 1 3 3, whatever the pattern is going to be, doing that. For the left hand, we're going to go 2 4 4 2 4 4 2 4 4 2 4 4. Okay, that's the plan with that. And then when I do the crossovers, what I'm going to do is just have right hand crossover, while the left hand is just going to hang out here. And then we'll do it just on the left. Left hand crossover, like this. We'll also do some other variations where we'll go like here, etc. Okay? So that's the plan. And we're going to slow this down. All right, so timestamps in the description so I can jump to whatever BPM that I would like to play at. Let's see here. So we're going to do this at 40. Okay, so as double stops first, just to make sure that the rhythms line up, and then we'll do it with crossovers. Oops. Messed up the rhythm. I'm so sorry. Now it repeats. The same pattern. I keep wanting to do that rhythm on beat 2. There. Okay, so now I'm going to do right hand doing the crossover. Left hand is just going to hang out here, okay? So everything is going to be on there and there. Sweet. Thank you for the reacts on the vertical. Sweet, so now I'm going to do it with the left hand. I'll give you the overhead view so you can see it. So my goal is to be able to keep the right hand in one spot without having to move it to get out of the way while playing the crossovers. With the left. Oops, keep playing the wrong rhythm. Sorry. Whoops. Is that a heavy hitter? Yep. It's the large with rims, so the new one. Yeah, so my left hand is not hitting in the spot that I'd like to be. Hello, Drum World. How you doing? You should work on this. Crossovers. These are a neat concept. Yeah, I like it. It's good. I'm gonna start jumping up. So rather than just going by ones, I want to see what's changing with my crossovers, especially in the left hand when I do these. So I'm gonna start going up faster. What I do recommend though is like if you're working on a rudiment or learning a new exercise, just start at 40, just let it go one click at a time. If you're doing some data collection, then it's okay to jump by like 5 or 10. So that way you can kind of see where the changes in technique are, or the sound quality, etc. when going through this. So I'm going to play through a rep double stops, a rep with right hand crossovers, a rep with left hand crossovers, and then I'll jump up to the next section of time. So we're going to go up to 50 now. I'm going to play them again as double stops, so etc. So accent, taps, okay? Thank you for the sub. Cool. So now we're going to do that. The left hand stays in one spot. The right hand's moving over. It's going to actually go up so it gets out of the way while playing like this. So not in the center of the head like this. This would be bad. You'd get a dead thud sound. So I'm moving it up a little bit so it gets out of the way of the other stick. And it still gets that resonance. I want to make sure that my shoulders are not moving while doing this, and my left hand is not moving like this. This would be bad. Did I do any high-level drumming? Yeah, so I did DCI for 5 summers. I would have had 7 if I didn't get in a car accident. And more importantly, I have a bachelor's, master's, PhD in music education. So I'm a better teacher than I am performer. Because that's what I focus on. Ah! But I march snare. Traditional. I need to do this one again. This is why we're working on it. Yeah, so that was inconsistent. So we're going to do the same rep again with the left hand. You looking at Red's rumba? Woo! Good luck. It's challenging. Oops. I keep wanting to do that fourth rhythm in the place of the second one. Cut. Sweet. All right, so now we'll jump up again, and we'll see what's happening, especially with the left hand. So we're going to go to 60 now. We'll do it as double stops again. The double stops make it so that you can hear the hands together and hear if there's any timing differences and whatnot. Again, we're putting accents on one of the drums, and then the taps are on a different drum, so it is like a sweep accent tap. Cool. Now we'll do right hand crossover. Again, trying to make it so that only the right hand moves. Let me read your comment. If you posted a video, on-stream video review, looking to get more into the niche comments. Yeah, as long as you like say, like give permission for it, then I can like share the, hey, here's permission to review it. So I have done that on a video. So if you go to the home tab, and you scroll all the way down past the exercises, and you go into the tips, the drumming tips one. So it was a while ago, but it was like 14 minutes of feedback on Flammus. And it was, number 49. So 14 minutes and 41 seconds edited of feedback on somebody who wanted some feedback on that for marching snare. So yeah, happy to do that. And then at the beginning of this, I showed that they gave like permission for that. So that way, like copyright wise, like it's like, hey, this person is asking for it. Because sometimes there are people who leave comments or make React videos where they're like critiquing somebody who's not asking for their feedback. So I want to make it clear that I'm like not doing that. Because that can be demoralizing for some students. So I try and avoid that. But anyways, all right. So now we're going to do it with the left hand crossover. So again, when doing this, I want to make sure that I'm not changing my upper body. I don't want to shift my shoulder while doing this. I don't want to like turn my hips or anything. And I don't want my right arm to move. The ideal position would be here. And then the left hand's going to play nice solid taps in the resonant part of the drum as opposed to the center part. And then we're going to hit on the resonant part of the drum in a way that we are not going to click our stick if we're playing right here. So we're going to actually move a little bit extended out. But again, not here. So my tendency for my left is to go like this, but I need to go up here to do this. So when you're moving on your tenor drums, resting position, when you go across to the different drums, it's kind of like a windshield wiper, the way that you're moving. So you can still hit resonant part to resonant part as opposed to like this and hitting dead sound, resonant sound, etc. YouTube is all about giving native feedback to people who don't ask for it. Yeah, that's true. It is. I agree with you. Unfortunately. The amount of like people whose content is like, how do I want to say it? That's a family-friendly way. That is talking negatively about somebody else's content. It's like, How do you sleep at night? Are you happy? Would a therapist be able to help with that? Yeah, so the when I got those clicks, the left hand was like going too low. So I need to get it out of the way of the right hand. So I have to extend it a little bit. Okay, someone doing that. Solution, don't watch their content. I mean, the interesting thing is like there's the schadenfreude, like the satisfaction that is gained by watching somebody else being hurt. And so I think that is like a big part of why some people do that and like why people will watch that kind of content. And then go and like take it to the next level of going and like harassing them. It's kind of crazy what some people are doing to like other social media people, especially because a lot of things are like taken out of context or fabricated. And then you go and watch the full clip and you're like, oh, yeah, technically they said that, but you left off the thing that was right before it and the right after it, etc. So I don't know. I'm hoping that people like wise up and like stop focusing on that kind of stuff, but we'll see. We're really gonna kind of have to, because AI is like, it's getting to a point now where you'll be able to like make somebody say and do anything, which is crazy. And it'll look like in 4K, caught in 4K, but it's like, I've never been to that country. I've never said that word. I don't even speak that language. How did you get a video of me doing that thing I did not do? Like, it's crazy. But yeah, especially to take it back to like the more niche of like the drumline stuff. It's wild how many people are just like feel the need to critique, where it's like, actually, Tyler, on a thing that you posted on the Reddit, the subreddit for Drumline, like, it wasn't a horrible comment, but it was still like, why do you feel the need to critique a drumline in June? You know that we're still a couple months out from World Championships. Like, yeah, I think the drumline's aware that they have some things to work on. Thank you for that commentary. It's super insightful. Very helpful. I will be sure to forward that to the instructors, who I'm sure needed your insight through vague, that was dirt. Like, maybe just like appreciate the fact that like people are like working on it. That's like if somebody told me that like my playing right now is bad. Guess what? I'm practicing. Pause. I feel really dehydrated. I'm gonna drink more water. It's just, live in a desert. Context is key. Yeah, one of the reasons why I'm like super cautious about like some of the things that I say is because like if I phrase something that is like completely like vanilla, no issues. But like if you can like clip out the beginning or the end of it and it'll sound spicy, like I know that people do that. Like there's entire like subreddits dedicated to that, and I avoid that kind of drama because it's just weird. There's been so many times where it's like, did you hear what this podcaster said? And like you play it and you're like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. And so then me like wanting to learn more about it, like, well, what were they talking about before that? And I listen to it and I go, oh, I actually really enjoyed that podcast. Like I agreed with what they were saying, but in that context, it was terrible. So like, yeah, it's wild. That's why like I keep stuff family friendly with at least what I'm saying. Sometimes the games I play are not, like the Tomb Raider, Lara Croft is not going to be family friendly, but because I like turned down a professorship to like do this YouTube stuff, like what if I in like 5 years like decide I want to go back to that? Like I don't want all these like out of context clips like potentially impacting that. It'd just be weird. But you know, people will try it. That's funny. Your comment. Yeah, like the your comment it hits the nail on the head where it's like, okay, thank you, person. This lock clip is from like 5 years ago or like from a month ago. Like, I'm so glad you pointed out the obvious. Everyone is in awe of your insightful commentary. Thank you so much. There's one guy that like I ended up blocking on multiple social media platforms because he would just like post negative comments on my stuff on YouTube and then on Instagram as well. And what was interesting, like before I had blocked him, is other people replied to him and was like, dude, you do this on every single drumming video. All you do is just like critique stuff. And it's just, I don't know, it's wild. Do you think the pay for professors is enough to pursue a music doctorate? So I want to give you like a good answer to that. But there's kind of two main parts to it. So I hope I don't get in too much of a rant here. So one is the pursuit of a doctorate for extra pay. And then two is like the difference in pay across the board. So like I'll start with that one. So as somebody who like taught in the K-12 setting and the last district that I in, they counted my doctorate even though I hadn't finished the dissertation at that time. And I was making $45,000 with 7 years of experience at that time. So that was as far right as you could go on the pay scale because they use like a ladder system, and then like really far down on that, and it was $45,000. But if I had gone and taught this was in Arizona, if I had gone and taught in like Seattle, I had friends who were making $70,000 who only had an undergraduate degree in like education, computer science education, music education, etc. I knew somebody with a master's degree in Michigan and they were making six figures. So they were making over $100,000. So that side of things is, it depends on where you're at. Like you could make a good amount of money. You can make a very small amount of money, depending on what part of the country you're in. But it also depends on the quality of that like specific school and what they pay. So like if I were to have accepted the position that I turned down for computer science education professor, I would have made way more than if I was at that same university teaching music education. So it's like even in different departments, you'll have completely different pay scales. So like generally speaking, like the hard sciences will usually make more than the soft sciences. It depends on where you're at, etc. Same thing for the amount of funding that you can get for going to school. So like I had to pay for all of my like room and board, etc. for like a lot of the doctorate, but like other places you don't. So like you might get a tuition waiver, you might get a stipend where it's like a tuition waiver and $30,000. It depends on what kind of program you're in. So like that's stupid expensive. But most of the professors that I worked with had a philosophy of when they were doing the interviews with students and the students were asking like, well, what's the pay difference? Like, etc. If that was the reason for getting a doctorate, then the professors advised them unanimously to not get the doctorate. It is not worth it. It's like if I were to like from a K-12 setting, if I were to teach in a district with a bachelor's degree, when I jump up to a master's degree, it might be like $1,000 more a year, maybe $2,000 more a year. And then the same thing for like a doctorate, it might be 1,000 or 2,000 more after taxes. Like you might be making several $100s more a year. So it's not worth it for the K-12 setting. A lot of professors also do not make much more than in the K-12 context. So some of my professors who were like really good, but as an assistant professor, which is like the first tier of professorship, there's assistant, there's associate, there's full, and then there's professor emeritus, which is like retired professor basically. But as an assistant, so like the lowest tier, they were making as much or sometimes less than some of their students who are teaching in the K-12 settings. But that obviously depends again on where you're at, where you're teaching, etc. You could be making more if you're teaching computer science or whatever. But there's the loss of income when you are as a student and the amount of debt that you went into. So like for my doctorate, even though I had the tuition waiver, I did my residency for 2.5 years full time, and I ended up getting close to 6 figures in debt from that, from like having to pay for like rent and stuff, because like the amount of money that I got from teaching like the undergraduate and graduate courses I was doing, I made $4,000 in a year. The whole year I made a total of $4,000 while I was doing my residency. So like that's not enough to, pay your bills. So your odds are you're going to have to take out some loans. If your residency is a year, okay, that's not so bad. Mine was 2.5 years, so it was significantly more than that, etc. So there's a loss of income from the amount of time where you're not working and the amount that you pay for the doctorate. And then you end up making similar pay, maybe a few $1,000s more as an assistant professor. And when you get to an associate professor, that will jump up like $10,000, maybe $20,000, depending on where you're at, which is the next tier of professorship. So then it starts to be like, okay, this is starting to be worth it as a professor for more money. But then you jump up another tier as a full professor, and you might be making like 6 figures, depending on where you're at. Like it's a decent amount of money. And you look at that and go, wow, I can make a lot of money as a professor. Yes, but like for me, it took, 6 years or something to get the doctorate? Like 2.5 years of residency, and then an extended period of time to get the PhD, like the dissertation done. Like it's just a very lengthy process. So especially when you account for you're not really going to make money until maybe 10, 15 years into your career, because to get tenure, that can take several years, maybe 6 years. It might take several more years to get to full professorship. So the long answer is I don't think it's necessarily worth it just for the pay if you want to become a professor. For me, the reason why I wanted to get the doctorate was because of impact. So like I wanted to become a teacher because I wanted to help people. And then when I was teaching, I was like, okay, I'm seeing a few hundred students a week teaching, and then having students privately. Great. But what if I taught teachers who also taught a few hundred students a week? I could have an indirect impact where instead of like helping 500 students, I might be helping thousands of students. And then I realized, well, if I go into the nonprofit or even the corporate route, because I almost got a job with Apple on their curriculum development team. Weird random story there. But when I was interviewing for that, I was like, well, I could help millions of students and teachers around the world if I developed curricula that is being used by them. So that's how I ended up in the nonprofit space. Instead of going the professorship route, because it was just like a larger amount of impact. But now I'm doing the YouTube stuff because then I can do that for free for people. So very long-winded answer to your question. It's a good question that you got. Really weird vibe from you already. What's that say? Sabina? It's kind of entitled. So I'm talking to someone about a question that they had, and all you're asking about is me to play it. You can rewind it. You can see me playing for an extended amount of time before all this. But right now, you're not passing the vibe check, my dude. The reason you ask is because I really want to teach at college level. Hmm. Yeah, it depends. So like the question is like, should I go for a well-paying job first and then go into teaching? I do know some people who do that, or who have thought about it, but the small number of people that I know went into a field to make a lot of money, um, first and then want to go and give back by doing teaching after the fact, it's very difficult for them to walk away from that money. So the golden handcuffs is a real thing. Like when I left the job that I was doing, it was more than double what I was making as a teacher. So to walk away from a six-figure job as a teacher was difficult to do because it's hard to give up that kind of income. So if you can set aside a plan where you're like, once you reach financial independence, which if you haven't looked into that FI, or FIRE, FIRE, there's a lot of people who talk about how to set yourself up so that you can have like enough passive income where you can do what you would like to. So yeah, if you can develop a plan for yourself to eventually get into teaching, like once I hit this amount of passive income, then yes, I will go into teaching, etc. But I don't know many people who have successfully made that jump, to be honest with you. And I'm not trying to like dissuade you from that. But I will say that like having been in a position with the golden handcuffs, it was hard to walk away, even though that there's like so much abuse going on from somebody else in the organization. So there's a lot of stuff that you have to deal with going into some of those high paying jobs, especially if you're at like the director and above level, which is where I was at. You get to see all the drama that goes on behind the scenes that the other staff aren't aware of in some of the higher paying jobs. So if you go into sales and like you are making a high amount of commission from that, then you might not see some of that drama. You might have a bad boss. But like sales is such an in-demand thing that you could go just work for a different company and try and find a better boss, etc. But a question that what I would recommend asking is like, do you want to spend the majority of your life pursuing your passion or pursuing money to fund your passion maybe 20, 30 years from now? And there's no right or wrong answer to that. It was something that like I had to sit with in high school because like I took a computer programming class my junior year of high school, and it was like I did it because at the time like programmers were making a few $100s an hour, some stupid number, and I was like, wow, that sounds great. But when I took the class, I was like, this is not intellectually stimulating. It was very boring because the teacher was like 1 week ahead of the rest of the class because he had never taught it before and wasn't a very good programmer. And it didn't have the impact that I wanted to have to be able to help people. So like for me, I chose to go into a low paying field because I wanted to have that impact. So like becoming a teacher, because I was like, do I want to spend like 40, 60, maybe 80 hours a week doing something I hate just to fuel the things that I do on the weekend? Or do I want to make it so that like during the weekday, the majority of my day spent working, I'm helping other people? And I don't know. There's just some things to consider. I'm not trying to push you one direction or another, but it's, yeah, some factors to consider. Someone just used your lot video without asking first. They gave credit though. That's not cool. Are they using it on like YouTube on the horizontal, or is this like a unpaid thing on like Reddit or something? Like I hate when people reuse that. Yeah, I'm happy to provide some advice on that. I have like sat down with like incoming doc students at the well, actually at multiple different programs, and then I was like a dissertation supervisor for Boston University. So like I have experience like working with like people who are going into or who are literally finishing their doctorate. So if you have like questions down the road after you've like thought about it, like feel free to stop in and ask some more questions or leave a comment on any of the videos. Sorry. How strict are you for sound quality? Start to get crazy on the sound quality. That's a good question. There's a lot of things that could help you improve your sound quality. Creep, that's a really good question. Let me think about that. Yeah, I remember you stopping in previous streams, but and I think you even left some comments on YouTube. So yeah, feel free to stop by. You have good questions. YouTube horizontal reaction video. Okay. Yeah, the gray area of reaction content. Yeah. Okay. Well, sorry to hear that, Tyler. That's yeah. Frustrating. But at least they give you credit for that. You could copyright strike them. I think you have to have be in the YouTube partner program to do that. I don't remember though. So I don't know if you are or are not. I don't know how many subs you have and whatnot, but yeah, you could potentially do something or just be like, yo, include a link to my video in your description or something like that. Okay, so in terms of the question about what I listen for with stick control. So if we go to the home tab here, there's a lot of exercises that are all at one height, like the stick control variations or even roll exercises, etc. So when playing at something at one height, you're trying to go for that consistency of sound where it is going to sound like one person playing on one hand, just cut and paste for each one of the rhythms. So if you're doing any of these stick control variations, whether it's the normal versions or you're playing a stick control with filler or my favorite one, which is the advanced stick control with filler. So this particular exercise, when you play through it, your goal is to make it all sound like cut and paste, just the same thing over and over and over and over. So when you're playing this, you don't want to have on the first line, any kind of pulse like this or etc. You want it to all be just the exact same thing from one to the next. Now, the amount of consistency that you're trying to aim for is dependent on what kind of instrument you are playing. So if you're playing in a drum line, your goal should be to make it so that it sounds the exact same way as everybody else. But if you're playing on a drum kit, you can get away with some inconsistencies in your sound if you're the only percussionist, the only drummer playing in a group, because you don't have to worry about aligning it with 7 other people or however many people are on the snare line or tenor line, etc. So your amount of OCD that goes into the perfectionist tendencies when practicing will be dependent on the context that you typically play in. So when I was working on concert snare stuff, I wanted it to be consistent sound quality. But when I was working on drum kit stuff, it's just I can get away with some more flexibility with this. So when I'm working on snare drum stuff, though, then I gotta marching snare. I really gotta step things up to the next level. And for me, because I have these perfectionist tendencies and whatnot, and I really like that, snare drum was my favorite instrument to practice because it rewarded that kind of consistency with your playing. So when you're going with an exercise that is on 2 heights, or 1 height rather, when you're practicing an exercise that is for 1 height, really focus on the consistency and let the level of perfectionism match the instrument that you're playing and whether or not you're playing with multiple other people. And if not, then you don't have to worry about it as much. However, when you're playing, one of the things that you want to listen for is this sound. So that hum that is in there, as opposed to this, where it doesn't have that resonance whenever you're playing. So if I am playing a stick control exercise, I want to feel the stick, whether I'm playing soft or loud, be able to vibrate in my hands just a little bit, which is causing that resonance or that humming sound whenever I'm playing through something. So right there was some hum, but if I squeeze the stick a little bit more, have more contact on the stick, less space in the hands, it chokes off that sound. So this has a profound impact on the consistency of your playing as well as the consistency of your sound quality. So if I just simply change the amount of space in my hand while playing just legato strokes, it has a profound impact on the sound quality and the resonance of the stick. But if I also change the the velocity from the starting point into the head and back up into it, it can also have a profound impact on the amount of sound quality that you get out of this. So if you play with a slower velocity versus a faster velocity, you'll get significantly more sound out of it the more volume you put into this. So if you are trying to get super perfectionist about playing something like stick control, not only do you want to listen for the resonance in the stick and feel that resonance with that little tickle, that little vibration in your hand, but you also want to consider, am I playing with a different type of velocity on the check pattern, so the pattern where it's just alternating, versus when I'm playing a sticking pattern. So for example, some students, when they play a pattern like right, left, 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 that right hand is going to have like a quicker and more staccato velocity than if you're playing like 4 strokes like this. So really listen for those things whenever you're working on this. This is just for like single height stuff. But if you're working on stuff like accent taps, or I don't know, like even like these chop exercises, like some shopping sprees, or these different grid variations, there's over 1,000 of them, then you're also really having to consider the differences with 2 different heights if you're doing like a rudimental thing. So with your tap height, this is going to have still that resonance and that vibration in there then compared with your accent height. But now you also got to pay attention to, well, how much velocity am I getting for each one of the accents versus how much velocity am I getting for each one of the taps? So again, going back to, depending on what instrument you're playing, if you're playing on drum kit versus if you're playing on like a concert snare versus a marching snare, your level of perfectionism will need to match the number of people that are playing, but you can get super OCD with it. And if you want more details on the things that I listen for, like in these live streams, I will narrate out loud, oh, here's what I'm like working on, or here's what I'm practicing, etc. But in the drumming tips, this is where I'll often edit down the responses and the little like teachable moments into shorter videos so you can see, oh, this is something that I could also listen for when I'm practicing any one of the instruments that you might be practicing. So that's a really good question, Creep. I hope that like helped answer that particular question. But hopefully just checking out any of these drumming tips will give you some more guidance on like things to potentially listen for and whatnot. Even just like listening to like other drumline instructors or other percussion instructors, drum set instructors, whatever, and see, well, what are they listening for? What are they doing? Hello on YouTube Vertical. What's that board type of thing? Oh, this thing? So this is called a quadruped. So it is a tenor drum. So it's got multiple different drums to be able to practice and whatnot. And you can actually see a review of it if you go onto the home tab and then scroll down. Right inside of here, the drumming product reviews. There's a review of it. Not sponsored or anything, but you can hear what it's like. Last question, is the velocity dependent on the speed? Sorry, my monitor, I should have moved it. It's too far away. Your snare drum in a drum line? It depends on what you're doing. Let me think about it for a second. I want to give like a good answer. Oh, they have it in the description for your YouTube video? Yeah. The amount of people who like do the fair use policy for React content is interesting. It's very it's not by the legal definitions of fair use, especially if they're making money off of it. Like, yeah, if you actually look into it, a lot of the people who like will copy and paste like fair use in the description, that's not it. But at least they gave you some credit for it. But that's unfortunate. They definitely should have reached out in advance and gotten permission for it. Have I thought about analyzing Latin rhythms? I mean, tomorrow I'll play some patterns that are Latin stuff. Under the limb independence section on here, there's a bunch of things that you can do for Latin drum kit playing. So if you go to those exercises and whatnot, there's a lot in there. Like Don Moyo's book, 50 Ways to Syncopation, has a bunch of Latin related stuff. Anyways, so Creep, I feel weird calling you that. I know that's your name, but I'm not calling you a creep. I'm calling you by your name on there. So velocity strokes. So for snare drum on a drum line, what I want to make sure that I do is like the response that I give is not too specific, that it doesn't talk about some of the outliers when practicing, if that makes sense. So there's a video that I released here. It's a very short one. And I don't know why this technique works. So in this video, it talks about something that I learned in 2005 at the Vanguard exercise, the audition camps. So the exercise we was playing, was 16th note pyramid, and we played it with this like technique that looks like a T-Rex. So it's like this weird technique like this while going through it. And the point of that was to be able to work on our tap strength, so that when we're playing like low volume 16th note pyramid, it had a nice beefy sound as opposed to like a finger French technique where it's going to be a thinner sound. So we want to have a lot of velocity and weight behind it without any kind of tension in the hand, etc. when doing this. So we're trying to have a good velocity stroke in there without that tension in the hand. And it's the same thing for if you're doing traditional grip. That year that the snare line was playing match grip, which I know is weird, but I actually prefer it. I don't want to talk about this. So there's an exercise that I'm debating. Should I show you the exercise first and then talk about it? Sorry. I'm very indecisive right now, like from an educational standpoint, which would make the most sense to be able to like go through this. Okay, so here, let me show you. Underneath technique, inside of here, there's a playlist called Rebound Variations. There's only a couple of exercises inside of here. But with rebound, this exercise is really simple, but it's actually a very important one. So the exercise is called rebound, and the reason why it's called rebound is because the entire point of the exercise is to work on a fast rebound stroke out of the head. So when you're playing through this, whether you're playing it at 20 beats a minute, which is as slow as it starts, or if you're playing this at like 200 beats a minute, which is as fast as it goes, you want to have the same fast velocity and rebound. So where you are starting at whatever height you're starting at, and you have a quick velocity stroke down into the head and get out of the way as quickly as possible, so that way it can rebound back up to the top while playing through this exercise. You'd play this as either just all on the right hand, all on the left hand, or as double stops, which is what I would do when I was teaching this to different drum lines that I was working with. So this exercise, regardless of how fast or slow you're playing it, you want to have a very fast rebound stroke where it's almost like it's like teleporting into the head and then immediately back out of it, as opposed to a legato stroke where you're just like letting it just like move at a slower velocity, slower pace, etc. So you want to have it, no matter how slow or fast you're playing, have a very quick velocity stroke into here. The entire point of this exercise is to work on your sound quality and that fast rebound. You could play this as taps, which is what we would do, and we'd have a very fast rebound. Or you could play this as like a full height exercise, and again, going for a very fast rebound. You can also do this on tenors. You can do crossovers, etc., and just constantly going like this while moving on the drums, playing the different rhythms, etc. When you do it on the tenors this way, you're trying to go for a very fast rebound and motion where you're going into like stick over stick crossover or wrist over wrist crossover, whatever it is that you're doing. So you're trying to basically teleport into the next position so you can have a downstroke into whatever you're doing, whether you're doing the quarter notes, 16th notes, etc. So for tenor players, that's how I'd recommend working on rebound, but for snare players, you don't have to worry about that. This is different, however, from what you would do if you were playing like a stick control variation. In stick control, the goal of those exercises is usually to have consistent sound quality with legato motions. So you want to have a nice continuous fluid motion. So if at your faster speeds, your faster tempi, if let's say you're playing an exercise at 120 and the type of stroke that you're going to use is a legato stroke, then you would practice that same stroke when going slow. So if this exercise, for example, rebound, were to be played with a legato stroke fast, well then if I'm practicing it slowly, then I want to play with a legato stroke at like 40 beats a minute. And so I would have that legato stroke. If, however, an exercise like this, or maybe an accent tap exercise, you're using a velocity stroke where you're using a very quick motion, or maybe even a down stroke or staccato stroke or whatever, you would want to practice that same way when doing it slowly. So the way that I like to summarize it is use a fast technique when going slow. So if I'm working on rebound, it might have a different technique than when I'm working on something that's at 2 height, like any of the chop stuff, or maybe the grid variations. But if I go back into a 1 height thing, I might be working on some more legato motions than some of the more velocity strokes, etc. So whatever kind of technique that I'm going to practice at a fast speed, the goal tempo, is how I'm going to practice it when going slow. So when I was practicing the accent taps earlier, the accent taps that I was using, those kind of velocity strokes that I was playing when playing, is the way that I want to play it when I'm playing it fast. If, however, I was using more of a velocity stroke where it's not going to be as fluid, etc., then I would approach that there. So hopefully, Creep, that makes sense for you with the long-winded answer. And then also the short answer is just whatever the technique is fast, practice that one slow. But stay relaxed while doing this. So if I'm playing like a Fulcrum Control exercise, or let's say I'm even like going to one of these shopping sprees or whatever, and I'm like, the other day I was working on Blue Devil 2000 spree. So when I was playing through this one and I was like starting at like 40 beats a minute and slowing this thing down, I want to make sure that the technique that I'm using at 40 is the same thing when I was like last playing in the 130s, 120s, etc. So same approach, just going slower. Stay relaxed while doing it because I don't want to have like a very tight technique and squeezing while playing like these singles and whatnot. I want them to be nice and loose so I can get that resonance and that vibration that you'll feel and hear in your playing. You're from Peru. That's cool. Well, welcome. I'm from Arizona. Does that help? What is better, snare or tenors? It depends on what you want. To be candid with you, I initially auditioned for tenors and didn't make it. So I initially wanted to play tenors because it's more fun to like do all the crossovers and stuff, like playing where you're doing all this and play behind your back, like doing the sweeps, scrapes, like that's cool. But for me, snare drum on one drum, when there's like 8 other people all on the same line with you and you have a more articulated surface, it requires more perfectionism, in my opinion, than with tenor drums, because you can get away with it because there's more resonance and whatnot on the tenor drums. So for me, as a perfectionist, I prefer snare drum, but I don't like traditional grip. Even though I marched it for several seasons, I prefer match grip. So it depends on what your preference is. So if you want to move around, tenor drums. If you want to stay on one drum and have it be more perfectionist and less forgiving, less being able to get away with stuff, then snare drum is your answer for that. Stick control is legato? Yeah. Legato stroke. Yeah, so legato stroke, there's a lot of debate about this, but since you're in a drumline, I'm going to explain it in a 2-height system. So 2-height system meaning that you're playing with accents, taps, and generally speaking, usually like nothing in between that. Like if you're playing like a shopping spree, everything is like this as opposed to, which you might see more of in like a concert percussion. So in a 2-height system, there are basically 4 different stroke types, 2 of which are legato strokes and then some other ones. So you have a stroke that starts up and ends up. This is a legato stroke for higher notes in the 2-height system. You also have a stroke that starts up and ends down, so it's a downstroke. So it starts here, ends here. All you're doing is just stopping your wrist from moving and closing the space. You're not squeezing the hands to be able to get that change in height, so it doesn't like fly out of your hand like this. You're just simply closing the space without squeezing in your hand. The next stroke that you have is another legato stroke, but it's for the taps. So this is your tap stroke. And so it starts down and it ends down. And then finally, the last stroke that you have in a 2-height system is one that starts down and ends up. So this is an up stroke. So where you hit here and you have to use the rebound and kind of pull up to be able to get this one playing it. So if you do an exercise that is 2 up, 2 down, you'll actually go through all 4 different stroke types, where it's up, 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 down, 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 and down, up. So this is all 4 stroke types in one simple exercise, with the stroke that is up here being legato, that continuous fluid motion, as well as the one that's down here being that continuous fluid motion. You're just doing it at a lower height. The accent tap stuff, like these bucks, another way to call it, this is where you're getting more velocity strokes and you're changing the amount of space in here to prevent that legato fluid motion, etc. There is an exercise that can work on that. So if you go to the Home tab and you scroll down into the technique section, and you go to the accent tap exercises right here, there's multiple variations of 2 up, 2 down. If we scroll down, sorry, there's a lot of exercises in here. So there's the accent relaxer, 2 up, 2 down, and then there's the tap relaxer with 2 up and 2 down. And right here, there's also swung variations in here. So this exercise, what it's doing is this one's working on relaxing your taps. So you're starting all that tap height, and then you're changing the accent volume slightly each measure. So now you have 4-inch accents, 3-inch taps, 6-inch accents, 3-inch taps, 9-inch accents, 3-inch taps, and then finally 12 and 3 for your taps. And then your accents slowly get lower. So you're playing 4, it's like an emphasis, 6, and then 9, and then 12. And then you slowly lower it back down, each one of the measures while working on this. So this is how you can work on shiftings from those 4 different stroke types using one single exercise, doing the 2 up, 2 down. And this play along goes from 20 to 160 beats a minute, so you can work on that. Tenor definitely gives you some leeway. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, Tyler. If you had like tenors practice on a super articulated surface, like even just like the laminates on the off-world pad, and like basically acted like a snare line in terms of like their like cleanliness, like if you could get it clean with no resonance, and then all of a sudden you go on to a surface like the tenor drums where there's like actually resonance, you just get like chef's kiss for a tenor line where it's just like there's no dirt whatsoever. But so what do I consider like a really fast velocity? Yeah, legato but faster off the pad. Yeah, so the like for rebound in that exercise, the goal is to have the fastest velocity stroke possible. So you're training your muscles basically to get out of the way and to move quickly. So that fast twitch response, to be able to get the sound quality out of it through the speed and the power that you're moving on this. But again, the hand contact has an absurd amount of say in whether or not it's going to have a good sound quality or not when doing a fast stroke. So you could move with a very fast velocity, but if you choke off the sound literally with your hand, then it won't matter how fast you're moving. So it's not just the speed of the hand motion and the stick motion, it's also the contact on there. So they go hand in hand, stick in hand. Anyways, I talked a lot. Good questions though, really appreciate it. I'm not going to chop out because actually I want to get ready for the Tomb Raider stream. And I do have like a hard cutoff later, so like streams and whatnot, or meetings. But on my home tab of YouTube, this is where you can find some exercises you can chop out with if you'd like to. So if you go here, under the chop exercises, there's like 60 some odd videos in here. There's over 1,000 grid variations. You have to click on here to show all of these because there's too many playlists in that. The limb independent stuff, we'll work on that tomorrow. We practiced it yesterday. We've got a few hundred marching bass stuff. We've got some drumline cadences. We've got almost 400 technique exercises. This one you also have to click to expand. We've got all the prior live streams so you can see me work on things that I'm trying to improve, as well as scripted lessons, and then almost 100 videos on different tips from questions people have asked. So for example, some of the questions that were asked in today's streams, later on I'm going to go edit those down and I'm going to put them into drumming tips that I'll put into here. So stay tuned. You'll see some of those in the future. You'll give an update if you make RCC fall. Yeah, GG's. Good luck with that. RCC is a phenomenal line. Having been in Arizona, and we would like constantly go to RCC's fall competition, the various bands that I worked with back in the day. So it's a solid line. That's why pad rehearsals are fun for quads. Agreed. If tenors can get it clean on one drum and like an articulated drum like this, and then be able to move it around, I don't know. There's something about tenors. It's a lot of fun to play, but it's that perfectionism for why I like snare. But I don't know. I just don't like traditional grip. it's useless. Anyways, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna get ready for Tomb Raider, which is supposed to start right now. So I'll shift this back probably in like 15 minutes. I gotta get ready for that. But if you enjoy these free exercises, there's thousands of them. Just share it with somebody else. If you want early access to any of the like 400 and some on that are scheduled over the next year and a half, it's 99 cents, but you don't have to pay for that content unless you want to. Thank you for the members who have paid for it. I do appreciate it. It does help me out. I make less than $1 a day on this content, so anything helps. But the biggest thing that you can do to help, just share it with somebody else. More people can use it. And then I'll make $1 billion because I'm a YouTuber. Just kidding. All right. Appreciate y'all. Hope you have a good day. Goodbye.